I have the honor and pleasure of serving as chair. And because this is our first public meeting in person, in that I'm going to ask my colleagues if they would please introduce themselves. Starting to my left. Turn your.
I'm Ron Goodman. I've been on the commission for 6 years, and I'm glad to be here. I spent some time in this courtroom and in the classrooms down. Those days are.
I'm Ward Koser from Williston. I also have just completed 6 years on the commission.
I'm Murray Sogsveen. I've been on the commission for 1 year.
And our staff.
I'm Logan Carpenter. I serve as the commission's general counsel. I have been in this position for just over 2 years now.
Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Binstock, and I serve as executive director for the commission. And I am a graduate of UND Law School as well. Did you say that, Murray? Yes, as is Murray and is Logan.
My name is Adeline Mose. I recently joined the North Dakota Ethics Commission, and I serve as the operations administrator.
And I introduce myself as the chair, but Cynthia Lindquist. My position is here at UND, and I'm in a new role for the university, Director of Tribal Initiatives and Collaboration for the University of North Dakota. And I'm also one of the original members of the commission, and there is one vacancy. It's a 5-person body. Because we're doing this in person, I'm going to deviate just a bit from the agenda, but the North Dakota Ethics Commission was created by the people of North Dakota through the approval of Measure 1 in November of 2018, general election. This citizen-initiated constitutional amendment added Article 14 to the North Dakota Constitution, establishing an independent commission with the authority to oversee the ethical conduct of elected state officials, lobbyists, and candidates for state office. And there's a lot more to this. I'm reading this from our annual report, which we brought printed copies, but we've also got a very, very good website that continues to be a work in progress. In that, but please, I encourage everyone to access that annual report, which talks about our formation and the work we have done in the 6 years that the commission has been in existence. It's some really good information and data points, including budget information. So I have officially called to order the regular meeting of the Ethics Commission on this Wednesday, September 16, 2025, at the University of North Dakota's Law School. And I want to thank Beth Moe from the alumni office here at the law school, who invited us last year. So it took us a year to make the arrangements and for us to be here. And I think it's very, very appropriate to be at the law school to help students to understand another aspects of law, legalities, and ethics rules and all this and that. So I'm really appreciative of the invitation to be here. And I thank those of you who have taken some time to come be with us in person. I'm going to ask if we have any other agenda items.
Madam Chair, I'm suggesting that the UND Law Student Question and Answer session be moved up to be like 9.5, because we don't know how long the discussion of the complaints will be in executive session. And so at the end of our normal business, then we move right into Q&A.
I'm okay with that. I think that's a great suggestion. Colleagues?
I'm fine.
All right, so noted. And we don't have to vote on that, right? Okay. All right, next order of business is the approval of meeting minutes for July 16th, August 1st, and August 18th.
Cindy, can I just make a note? On the agenda, we also included August 27th of 2025. Those meeting minutes are not ready, so it'll just be the first 3 sets of minutes that need to be approved today. We'll do that August 27th at the October meeting.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from the commission's July 16th, 2025 regular meeting, August 1st, 2025 special meeting, and August 18th, 2025 special meeting.
Second.
Motion on the floor. Any questions or discussion? I have a question on the July 16th minutes, page 4. At the bottom of the page, under the item 10, discussion of media request and the motion. I guess I don't understand the language in the motion. The first sentence and the end of that sentence, productive working environment for commission staff and when appropriate to coordinate with Commissioner Lindquist. I think it was relative to maybe meeting in person, but I'm not sure. And anyway, I found that language confusing.
So Cindy, Chair Lindquist, I think what it was is if we'd move the word when appropriate to the end, would that clarify the sentence? Because it was to have Commissioner Goodman take the reins and do that evaluation and then coordinate with you when he felt it was appropriate. So if we were to move that language, would that clarify the motion or no?
Yes. Yes, thank you. The July 16th minutes, page 4. And it's the language in the motion at the bottom of page 4. But I think the correction that Rebecca noted would fix it for me. Okay. The other one in the same set of minutes on page 6, item 11. Executive Director Binstock continued discussion of the 25-27 strategic plan. Binstock emphasized the importance of getting North Dakota to national standards. So I wrote, did we talk about that? Am I having old lady memory moment? Because I put a question mark, what national standards?
Can you tell me where you're at, Cindy? I'm not seeing that.
Page 6,
Oh,
item
I'm on
11.
page 5. That's my problem.
Page 6, item 11, talking about our strategic plan. And we reference emphasize the importance of getting North Dakota to national standards. But I think it was in the context that we wanted our strategic plan, the goals and objectives, to be measurable. Right?
Chair Lindquist, yes, it was. So specifically in that context, we were talking about rules regarding informal guidance for public officials, that most other ethics commissions have rules for informal guidance, and that the discussion point was providing informal guidance. So we talked about if we were to implement something like that, it would bring us up to, now there is not an independent national organization for ethics commissions, but what we talk about is kind of a de facto national standard that's been created by other ethics commissions. So there was a discussion of that, if my memory serves me correctly, back to August.
Okay. So is the language okay the way it is then in our minutes? Should it be? Should it be? We changed the language to how you just stated it, Rebecca.
To be frank, we probably could just take that line out of the minutes.
Okay,
because we talk about the potential rule for informal guidance later on in the minutes.
Okay. I'm okay, and actually, I like that. Let's just remove that sentence, the second sentence under item 11. Commissioners? You okay with that? All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the 3 sets of minutes, July 16, August 1, August 18. Any further questions or comments?
Probably need to amend that motion with the changes that you just made. Just
Thank you. So corrected.
Support.
And who second? The word's okay with the amendment.
Yep. And then who seconded? Is it Murray?
Okay, and are you okay with the amendment? All right. Now, could you read roll, please?
Commissioner Sagsby,
Aye.
Commissioner Kozer,
Aye.
Commissioner Goodman, and Chair Lindquist.
Aye. All right, thank you. Continuing on, Executive Director's Report. Rebecca.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to start out with our budget update today. So I'm going to have Ms. Mose pull up our budget for the month of August. And so I'll have her walk us through our expenditures, where our projections are for this biennium and how we are doing thus far.
So for the month of August, our current appropriation is sitting at $1,368,016. Our expenditures in August totaled $47,773, bringing our total expenditures for the biennium to $86,479, leaving a remaining budget of $1,281,537 for the biennium. Our projected expenditures through the end of the biennium are at $1,238,771, leaving us with an estimated ending balance of $42,766. And that's for the month of August.
Okay. Thanks, Addie. So just a few things that I want to just kind of briefly talk about. Keep in mind that our estimated ending balance will significantly change as we go through. We are very early in the biennium. A few things just for the commissioner's awareness, our travel expenses, we do have estimated very low. Chair Lindquist will talk a little bit about that during our COGL discussion, that we do anticipate that to be higher. The other thing I want to point out is our professional fees and services. We do have, some of that actually was spent in August, but it didn't get onto our August budget, so it will be in September. And that was just how the bills came in based upon the dates that we needed to have things done by. So there is some of those professional fees that was already spent, and we do anticipate quite a bit of professional fees to be coming in as we are hiring outside counsel to deal with the increasing caseload of complaints. So any questions on the budget update? I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the next few months with the hiring of outside counsel and potential travel expenses as well. And then case management system is also in there. So
Addie, your transition as our new admin support staff is going okay? And
Yes.
it's a great report. We really like our reports about our budget, appropriations and spending and that. So, and I know it can be complicated.
Thank you.
I'm going to pull up attachment 5. So not hearing any questions, we'll move on to the filings and case management report. This is, you can tell it was a hot last month of summer in the sense that we had very little filings come in. In fact, I don't know if we've had a month of this low of filings since I started with the Ethics Commission back in September of 2022, but we had 5 meeting notices come in. I will report to you that this is going to look much different for the month of September. So our our monthly case management report is very short. We have 5 meeting notices that came in, and Addie, if you can scroll down. We were able to close 1 complaint. That was the one that the commission took care of at its August meeting, which was closed. And then we have, that's a very far number to read, but I believe that it is 40 pending complaints as of August 31st of 2025. Any questions on the filing and case management report? As we have it, you'll see much different statistics in September. I also want to apologize. I see it says July. I did not get that updated. It should say August. I will change that. Hearing no questions, let's move on to the education and outreach update. This is very minimal, very short, because this has not been a priority for the commission, and really just because of the increase that we are seeing in complaints that are coming to us. So there's a few just that I want to let the commission be aware of. One of them was on the day of our last meeting, which was August 27th. Both myself and our general counsel, Logan Carpenter, we presented information from the annual report. We did that at an event hosted by the Grandmas for Democracy. It was held at the Bismarck Library. There was approximately, they counted individuals, we didn't, we relied on their numbers. There was approximately 100 to 120 individuals at that meeting. It was a packed house. Commissioner Sogsveen also attended. He got involved in the question and answer portion of the evening, but it really was a good opportunity for us to interact with individuals in our community and provide information that we had just went through earlier that day in the annual report. So Marie, I don't know if you have anything to add to that event discussion. Okay. And then just this week, in consultation with Chair Lindquist, I was asked to record a segment with Gary Emeneth on his show, Open Range. This isn't necessarily education or outreach intentionally, but he had requested that. And so again, we focused on information from the annual report and getting accurate information out there. We talked specifically about appropriations. He was interested in looking at the historical appropriations that have been appropriated to the Ethics Commission. And so that was a good discussion that we did have. And then to once again mention and let the commission know, we are planning, or we are considering having, a fall educational session to ensure that both lobbyists and public officials and citizens, candidates for office, are well aware of the changes that will be coming to the Ethics Commission complaint rules based upon the language in Senate Bill 2004. We feel as though in order to roll out the rule correctly, we certainly need to be providing training and letting them know of what changes are happening. We are planning that, I believe, for the end of October. Is that correct? Right? And we'll do that as we have done with other ones. We'll do it in a webinar format that is through Teams, so everybody can join wherever they are, and it will be recorded and put on the commission's website. Any questions on education, outreach? It has been fairly minimal because of our time where it needs to be placed right now. Hearing none, moving on to one of the more significant items on my report to the commission. You will see a few different things that are in our human resources update. So just to let you know, we are still working with HRMS and working through the possibility of having temporary employees cover some of the attorney work. We had hoped to reach out to particular individuals who had expressed interest in doing this. Unfortunately, none of them were able to do that. And so we will be working with HRMS to get a job description posted and then get this out there as a temporary employee position. It obviously is not an FTE, but we really do need additional attorney time to get through those complaints. And this is a low cost way to do that because of the hourly rate compared to contract attorneys versus temporary employee attorneys. Those individuals would report to Logan as our general counsel. And I anticipate at the October meeting, we will likely have that job position posted. And I'll keep you guys updated on that. Any questions on that? So moving on, what we have done to address, again, I feel like I'm a broken record today, but to address the increase in complaints, we have engaged 2 outside counsel. We will have some updates for you in executive session on those. But we have now engaged 2 outside counsels that are handling separate complaints, and we are working through the conflict of interest process with those individuals to ensure that we don't have any issues. Any questions on that? So the hope is that we can use our temporary employee, move away from using contract attorneys, but at the end of it, we just need more attorney hours to get through the sheer number of complaints that we have and that are continuing to come into our office. So the next human resource update, I might hand it over to Commissioner Sogsveen if he doesn't mind, but it is the response to the Attorney General. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. I'll come back to it. The response to the Attorney General, the request that the Attorney General has made. I believe Commissioner Sogsveen, based on our last conversation, is in the process of drafting a response. And I have that he can give us an update at the meeting.
I'm currently working on a draft response, and I'm trying to be as thorough and as fact-based, document-based as possible. And I've identified 12 separate issues to respond to the Attorney General. And I may have a draft for you, assuming I'm here in October.
Then our internships, just to let you know, I presented about the Commission's internship opportunities here at the law school. I was just here last week on Monday. It was a great group that showed up, had a lot of good, thoughtful questions. And some of those we may talk about later today, maybe in the question and answer session. But the job posting for summer internship positions will go up next week. We already have that job description ready to go. It is going to be limited to the law school. I did talk with HRMS about opening it up potentially, if depending on what kind of response we get here at UND. But for now, we'd like to keep it local. Then, any questions on that? Yep. I like that option. We'll see what Professor McGinnis says after the meeting. We can bring him on board. It's a good idea. The last one that I have on our human resources update is it's an extension of a brief conversation we had at the August meeting, and that is the Commission's workforce. As you are well aware, I'm going to say it just for public information, the commission has its entire staff here today, an executive director, a general counsel, and an operations administrator. We are dealing with an increase in our workload. Although Logan is a very capable and very timely attorney, he is only one attorney, and we certainly need a lot more attorney time to get through our complaints. So as we prepare for the 2027 legislative session, yes, I know it is a long ways away, but we have already been talking about how we support the request that we are going to make. It is really imperative that we have an accurate and data-supported request for both our appropriation and our FTEs. So one of the discussions we had at the August meeting is a potential analysis by a third party or by HRMS with the state state OMB office. I had the opportunity last week to talk to Jill Mugas, who is our HR business partner, to inquire whether HRMS can help us out on this. She had indicated, and I had talked to Molly Harrington, that potentially this is something that they can help us work through. And really during that conversation, what I learned is that what their office typically does is they really try to figure out what employees are using or spending their time on. We don't have that problem. We know what we are spending our time on. Logan and I both track our time. Addie does that in a different system as well. Our biggest issue is that the amount of work that we have to get done simply takes more hours than we have in any given work week. So what I'm proposing that the commission consider, and we can have a motion on this or we cannot. I left it off of the memo for this week to let you guys use your discretion, but just that we really need to evaluate our current staffing levels based on, in our organizational structure, based upon what are the requirements and what are the citizen expectations of the Ethics Commission, and what are the duties that the Constitution, that the North Dakota Constitution gives to the Commission and asks us to do, and whether our current staffing levels are sufficient. I think that we're gathering evidence that it's really not sufficient, and that we need to find a way to solve that problem. So what I have proposed is a workforce analysis done by an independent entity who can provide information to the commission to allow us to then put together a good legislative proposal. If we were to do this, this would require, I talked with procurement, this would likely require an RFP. We can certainly work with procurement to do that. I don't think that it would take too much to do, but it certainly will take time to do. But I'm really requesting input from the commission on whether that is worth having that done, or even putting in the time to put out the RFP, because we really do need to take a very realistic look about the number of hours we have in a week and the amount of work that we have to get done.
Could that analysis be expanded to review the workspace for the employees? So I'm surprised, I'm continually surprised by the lack of space for the executive director of a constitutional entity, the privacy of the general counsel, and the privacy of Addie, all kind of compressed into a very small space. And if there's any expansion, whether by contract, they're either going to have to work out of their home or an office, or occupy the separate room that we have for meetings. And so is it possible to expand that to space issues? Because that does affect productivity.
Mm-hmm. So, Commissioner Sogsbean, I think that we could do that. OMB has space standards, a particular square footage for a head of an agency the second level of an agency, and then team members. And we are well below that space. And we feel like we've utilized our space really well that we do have. But if we do add employees, we are going to reach just a space capacity because we will be on very, very close
It's
proximity
a
to each other.
compromise between space efficiency and work efficiency.
Yes.
And if I do a mental numbering, Addie has about 24 square feet for where she works.
I actually think that's probably about accurate.
And that's enough said.
I want to remind the commission that we've been discussing this for several meetings now, several months. And the other thing I want noted on the record is that we had thought that HRMS, that the state HR office, would be able to do this analysis for us. And Rebecca let me know that they can't, they don't have the capabilities to do that. And that's why she's suggesting that we consider putting out a request for a proposal for a vendor. And we know there are some vendors in the state, I think maybe Fargo, that do that type of an analysis. And I do agree with Murray that if we're going to do this, then let's do it right and do the space also. Ron, were you going to comment?
Well, the only thing I was going to say before you took my thunder away was I was thinking, could the state do the analysis? But you've already explored that, so.
That was something that we were hoping that HRMS could do. And when I had initially had the conversation with Molly Harrington, she said, yep, that's something we can help with. But as we looked at it more in depth with what we are looking at, specifically future, not just current, they thought we were trying to evaluate what our current workforce was doing. We already track that. We don't track it down to 10 minutes. We track it roughly, I would say maybe by hour, by day. But that was what they were thinking that they could help us with. They have kind of formulas that they've created. I do want to just suggest that if we include a space analysis, we'll have to bring in OMB. I'll reach out to Brandon and make sure that he's aware of that because they might have data and information to include.
Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea what something like this would cost? Probably not.
I have an estimate in my head, Ward, but I don't, and that's why we'd have to do an RFP and more research.
So I think we should do a motion to direct the staff to get more information, including the possibility of putting on an RFP. Somebody could word it better.
I move to authorize the executive director to issue a request for proposals, RFP, for a comprehensive workforce analysis.
Second that motion.
Right. And workforce analysis, including space.
Including space, yes.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Sagsveen,
Aye.
Commissioner Kozer,
Aye.
Commissioner Goodman,
Aye.
Chair Lindquist.
Aye. Motion carries. More work.
Yep, that's a good one.
Please
We'll get that.
continue with your report.
So the next thing is the discussion of the audit. It is audit season for the commission. We have been working closely with the auditor's office. Addie really got thrown in very quickly. She was brand new, and within a matter of days, she was working with the auditor's office to get them information. They have been running tests the last few weeks, and we've been providing that testing information to the auditor's office. We have been a little bit we are communicating and working with them, but just to let you know, we are having to go back and look at other email addresses and pulling information from Alicia's records. So it does take a little bit of time. I'm expecting that the audit will be concluded in the next couple of weeks. And once that audit is done, we'll certainly let you know, but we'll continue to work with the auditor's office to get them what they need. They are testing for, the audit is a 4-year period. They did not do one in 2024. So it is a 4-year period from July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2025. That actually is a very large audit time frame. And so that's why we're having to go back through records that were saved prior to having our filing system really in a good position. So it is taking a little bit of time, but they are testing for internal controls, compliance, and then obviously running through all of our financial transactions. So nothing has been of issue as to date, but it's been great to work with them. Any questions on the audit? Moving on to the Kogel update, you will see a lot of information under Kogel. This is more than we usually have. This is usually a kind reminder that if you want to register for Kogel, please let us know. Just as a reminder, we have 4 slots reserved at Kogel already. And those, whoever, we have the spots earmarked, but individuals, anybody on the commission or staff can take those. Cindy will.
I think you should explain to the audience what Kogel is.
Okay. So Kogel is the Conference on Governmental Ethics Laws. Did I get that right? Okay. And it's a yearly conference of ethics commissions, offices who deal with elections, individuals who deal with open record requests, individual offices who deal with, I'm missing one, FOIA, campaign finance. There's another one too. Campaign finance, ethics commissions, any sort of entity that deals with lobbyists. That's the other one. And so they have a yearly meeting that rotates around the country, and we try to go in 2024. Murray, you went on behalf of the commission. Logan and I stayed back to prepare for legislative session. And then the year before, Logan and I and Chair Lindquist went to Kogel as well. Ron, I believe you have also went to Kogel.
I went to Kogel, but that was a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
It came on.
Yeah. So the Kogel conference usually lasts 4 days, and it is a very busy schedule. For most of the sessions, there are 4 to 5 sessions for each time slot. And as we look at the Kogel offerings this year, a lot of them apply to what we are doing. There is a track that is specific to enforcement and investigations that Logan will be primarily focused on. There's also public information ones. There are other ones that are focused on campaign issues, campaign disclosures, campaign, the First Amendment and campaigns, which we'll be talking about later this afternoon. And really, the presentations that they're putting together this year are very good, with a lot of participation from individuals and other ethics commissions. And so a lot of it relates to the commission's work. And keep in mind, these sessions are not recorded. They're not provided by any sort of electronic means. And so if we could potentially have a commissioner or staff member at most, and I say most, I'm actually hoping for more than that, sessions, it would be really beneficial. When Logan and I went in 2023 with Cindy, we came back with a notebook full of information and full of things that we could potentially implement here in North Dakota that were really gold, and a lot of great, how do I want to put it, things that you would only pick up from people who've been doing this for a very long time. Yeah, best practices. The other thing I wanted to point out is that Kogel has been hosting several educational and roundtable events. This is new. This is not something that Kogel has been doing in the past. I would say this is since the 2024 meeting that they've been doing this. I think they've tried to do one every other month. Logan and I have been participating in those as frequently as we can. They just had one, was it last week or the week before? I feel like it was last week. And it was phenomenal. It was a really great conversation about the Watergate protections, or the protections that were put into place post-Watergate, and how those are being threatened, changed, etc. And so I just want to encourage you, I try to get that information out to the commissioners, really to listen to those at a minimum, and take what information you can from that. My other update with Kogel is that not last week, but the week before, the Campaign Legal Center reached out to us. The Campaign Legal Center was asked to host a session at Kogel on what is called its annual threat assessment to Ethics Commission. The Campaign Legal Center reached out to us based upon the happenings of legislative session, particularly House Bill 1360, House Bill 1505, and Senate Bill 2004, which was our budget bill. We had a discussion with them. They would like to highlight that legislative happenings, let's call it, in their threat assessment. And they plan on presenting that information at Kogel. So they kind of sat down with Logan and I, and Murray participated in the meeting as well, really to try and understand what happened on the ground. They'd read all the media about those, and so they really wanted to understand. The Campaign Legal Center also inquired whether I would be willing to participate as a panelist to talk about the challenges that the commission has faced since legislative session, particularly the personalization that has happened since legislative session. I've not made that decision on whether I'll do that, but just to let you know that they've made that inquiry. I don't think I'd call it a request. I think it was an inquiry. That's what I'm going to call it. So Kogel, there's a lot going on this year.
And in our prep for today's meeting, when I talked with Rebecca, I'm going to suggest to all the commissioners to strongly consider attending this year to help our staff cover. We think it's going to be a kind of a different Kogel than normal in that, and we do have the funding to if all of us decide to go. I've told her I'm planning on going now, but I think if we can, for all of us to go, and yes, I know it's pending the outcome of appointments in that, but progress. The other thing I want to just note, since we're doing an in-person meeting today, that for the general public to please check this out. And again, Kogel, it's a national organization primarily made up of state ethics commissions, ethics bodies in that around the country, but the public are welcome to come and attend also. And I asked Rebecca and Logan about that to make sure, because I wanted to know. I did sit on that webinar last week, and it was very informative. It's just really good factual information about things related to ethics and that. So I'm going to encourage the public, check out our website, North Dakota Ethics Commission, and then check out Kogel also, and possibly plan, if you can, to attend that national conference the first part of December in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm going to suggest that maybe Addie doesn't feel she can volunteer at this point, but knowing what our operations person does, looking in the past, she's responsible for a lot. And it would be good if she could go. I don't know if she'll be able to, but if there's a space left over, I'd suggest that Addie be added. Addie be added.
Addie be added. So Ron, that was one of the things when Cindy and Logan and I went back in 2023, there was a lot of support staff that was there, because a lot of it is, how do you manage just one of the big discussions that we had then is case management systems, and what system are you using? They weren't talking big picture. They were also talking operational things. What works from an operational perspective? How do you maintain confidentiality? How do you keep track of what team member is working on what complaints? How do you distinguish your enforcement side from your advising side? There was a lot of very logistical operational things that were noted, and I think that would similarly be really good if Addie can do that.
From a logistics perspective, you've registered 4,
Yes.
but should you register 8, 7, or 8 now?
That's the question I have for the commission.
What, I didn't hear that, Murray.
Well, the commission has registered 4 people so far, 4 attendees. But theoretically, the commission could send 8. And at what point should we pre-register for 8 people? Because it's easier to back off. And it has to do with hotels and where the conference is located and things like that. If you register too late, you may be down in the North 40 with a hotel.
Do they have a hotel named that?
So I think when we registered Murray in 2024, you ended up at a different hotel, which wasn't bad, but you're not able to get that same interaction with the individuals. And in the way the registration works, you cannot get a hotel room until you have registered for the conference. If that makes sense. You cannot book in the hotel block until you have registered for the conference, but we did verify with them that we can switch registrants around. Because currently, for example, Dave is one of our registrants. So one of us will be taking that position.
There's one thing that Rebecca didn't mention, and that is COGL is an international organization. A lot of attendees from Canada, but I met people from all over the world who were attending.
Mm-hmm. So should I add 4 more or 3 more or?
Well, I said, I think the last time we discussed this, that maybe I would go, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to bring along my caretaker. You know, hell, I pay her enough money.
You're talking about your wife, Ron, right? Okay.
So I'd have to bring her along, which isn't, it's not going to be a problem because she'd stay in the same room as me, I think, unless I could get somebody else to convince somebody else, but I don't think I could. And then I'd, of course, pay for her airline ticket. So I'll see what she says. She should be a member of this commission because she makes all the decisions for me anyway. So
Do you need a request or a motion?
No, I don't think we need a motion for this, do we? Oh, it is. It'll be over 1,000. Never mind. Let's do a motion because it'll be over $1,000.
I move that the executive director register up to 8 participants at the COGL conference in 2025.
to me, that seems rather ambitious. I'm going to suggest 6 instead.
Oh, didn't he say up to 8?
Up to 8, which could include 6.
But we've got to pay for each registration, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, Ron, we do. I believe it's early registration. We still have a few more weeks left on early registration, and I think it's $600 for early registration. I think that's around where it is. Usually I have that in here, but we registered so early that we were able to. But we could do 6 now and then add later if need be. I think the motion could stand up to 8 with the understanding that I go ahead with 6. So adding 2 more.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ron. Motion on the floor. Further questions or discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Sagsveen,
Aye.
Commissioner Goodman, Vice Chair Kozer,
Aye.
Chair Lindquist.
Aye. All right, moving on.
Just a minute. I'm going to ask Addie, what do you think of this? Of you going?
I'll go.
He wants to go see the Atlanta Hawks.
They really don't pick great spots for COGL. But I mean, Kansas City had great food, right? All right, that concludes the executive director report.
All right, moving on. Agenda here, number 5, ongoing business. Brief on proposed travel disclosure rules.
So, Chair Lindquist, this is really just a note. We do have those proposed travel disclosure rules out there. As discussed, I believe at the last meeting, Commissioner Sogsby noted that we do have potentially 2 new commissioners coming on with Ward's term expiring and him not seeking reappointment. Then that we would want input from them before moving forward on adopting these rules. So we don't necessarily have a discussion, but we are keeping this on our ongoing business on the agenda so that we don't forget about it.
Any questions or comments? Moving on.
So I will hand over for the brief on proposed complaint rule amendments. I will let Murray and Logan take the lead on and talking about where we are on these new changes or amendments to the complaint rule that articulates how a complaint is filed with the commission and walk through that process.
So as the commission's aware, we had our rules hearing on September 9th. Excuse me. So the commission is still in the comment stage of the rules, the proposed rules. The comment period ends on September 22nd. So anybody who wants to submit a written comment up until that timeline still has time to get one submitted. So the commission can't take action until that comment period closes on that set of rules. We also did receive some people provided testimony at the hearing. As noted in the memo, that was kind of more general in nature. It wasn't very specific to the proposed complaint rules. We did also receive 2 written comments. One was at shortly after the hearing, somebody came in and provided written comments from North Dakota Native Vote. But we also received comments later that day from the Office of the Attorney General. Since that time, I've been working on going through that comment specifically and annotating it with my thoughts as the Commission's counsel on the comments that are proposed from the Office of the Attorney General. Any questions?
Well, I've spent a fair amount of time reviewing the proposed amendments to the rules and also comparing the language with the Constitution, Article 14, and the statutes. And in the agenda materials, there's a memorandum to Chair Lindquist from me, and I raised several issues. And what I'd like to do is to go through those one at a time, if that would be okay. So one of them is who may submit relevant information or a complaint to the commission. And what I noted is that when the Constitution was approved in 2018, it was very broad. It says any person may submit relevant information. And in 2019, when the House bill was introduced to implement Article 14, which was codified as Chapter 5466. And in that bill, effective August 1, 2019, complaint was defined to mean an individual who in writing or verbally submits a complaint to the commission, which was fairly similar to what was in the Constitution as of 2019. And then it was later amended to say complaint means a North Dakota resident who submits a complaint. So already it started to restrict who could submit a complaint to the commission. And then in 2023, it was again further reduced as to who could submit a complaint to be a North Dakota resident, a person subject to licensing by a state agency or other public official, and a party to a quasi-judicial proceeding before a state agency. So from the introduction of or enactment of the Constitution through 2019, 21, 23, it was substantially restricted who could file a complaint. And then when the rules were adopted, the rules were adopted to include that restrictive language. And so I'm suggesting that when we review the rules, the proposed amendments to the rules, that it go back to follow the language that's in the Constitution to effectively mean complainant means a person acting in good faith who verbally or in writing submits relevant information to the commission, so that instead of implementing the amended statutes, we effectively implement the Constitution as originally approved. So, and I realize there may be some pushback about that because, but I'm proposing that we closely follow the language of the Constitution rather than the statute that has evolved over time. That's proposal 1. Proposal 2 has to do with the jurisdiction of the commission. There are 2 ways for a jurisdictional issue. One situation is that if a complaint is filed against a respondent, and based on that complaint, the respondent would resign from that position, the complaint would go away. The second option is that if a complaint is filed against a public official who becomes a respondent, that complaint, the commission continues to handle that complaint until the commission's final action, whether it be a dismissal or some enforcement. And so I'm recommending that the current rules be amended by adding a new paragraph 5, subparagraph 5, that says the commission shall have jurisdiction over a respondent until the commission's final action on a complaint and the expiration of any appeal period. To make it clear, the jurisdiction of the commission. And the governor brought this up during his testimony on a hearing a couple of months ago. He just said it's unclear where the jurisdiction ends, and I think this would answer that question. The third issue is complaints submitted in bad faith, because the Constitution says the Ethics Commission shall maintain a confidential whistleblower hotline through which any person acting in good faith may submit relevant information. Well, what if a person submits a complaint in bad faith for the purpose of, in effect, harming somebody? So, for example, let's say that they're a candidate and that person files a complaint against the opposing candidate and then goes online and said, I filed a complaint against Joe and because he's unethical, and he did it for the purpose of harming the opposing person. And right now, there's really no mechanism for addressing that issue. And I've heard many complaints from public officials about the weaponizing of the complaint process. And so I'm proposing that when we amend the rules, that it would be amended to give the executive director authority to summarily dismiss a complaint if it is submitted in bad faith. If it's obviously submitted in bad faith, the executive director can dismiss it. But I'm also suggesting that if the executive director determines that a complainant may have improperly filed a complaint or in bad faith, the executive director may notify the commission. And the commission may then issue an order to show cause why that person should not be sanctioned for filing a complaint in bad faith. And which would give the respondent or the complainant an opportunity to have a hearing before the commission. And if the commission finds that the complaint was filed in bad faith or was a frivolous complaint, that the commission could impose a monetary sanction up to $500 for the first offense and up to $1,000 for each succeeding offense. And that would have two effects. One would be to deter people filing complaints in bad faith, and also to sanction complaints filed in bad faith. And I realize that there would be could be pushback against this because the Attorney General has testified in the legislature 2025 and in a rules hearing that the commission doesn't have any enforcement authority. And so if the commission adopts that, there could be pushback. The fourth one is anonymous complaints. Again, the Ethics Commission, the Constitution says the Ethics Commission shall maintain a confidential whistleblower hotline through which any person acting in good faith may submit relevant information. But the legislature has passed a statute saying that, and the commission doesn't have the authority to investigate an anonymous complaint. However, the commission has the authority to forward an anonymous complaint to law enforcement authorities if there's potential violation of law. And so I would like to propose when we consider the rules that the definition of anonymous complaint simply be an anonymous complaint is relevant information received from an unknown person, and that the commission may, if the complaint contains credible, documentary, or real evidence, the commission may consider it a valid complaint. Again, there could be pushback against it because the Constitution says one thing and statutes say something else. And finally, on complaint time management standards, I will recommend when we consider this rule, amendments to the rule, that if a complaint is pending for more than 180 days, that it will be quarterly on the agenda so that the executive director, general counsel, and the commission discuss the progress on it. And if it's pending for more than a year, that the commission and staff will discuss it at every regular meeting. The goal is to move it along as quickly as possible. So those are 5 things that I'm recommending, and I realize that a couple of them may be controversial, but I wanted to raise it in September so that there's an opportunity to meditate about it until the October or November meeting, whenever we consider the rules, to let it marinate for a while, so to speak. So anybody that wants to have at me on it, just
Well, I appreciate your in-depth analysis, and particularly from the legal perspective, you know, and you've articulated not only the timeline, the histories in that, but some of the things we've grappled with particularly over the past year, some of these cases, and so these things have come up with us. But Ron or Ward, any comments or questions about Murray's?
Just to comment on the one about the bad faith, my concern comes, who determines it's in bad faith? I mean, some things are very clear. And other things will be not clear, but I'm concerned of who makes that decision and on what grounds.
Yes, so Ward, I've thought about that. And for example, I thought about it in the context of the court system. And both Rebecca and Logan can talk about that more because they're more familiar with it. But in the court system, if the judge or the court determines that a complaint has been made in bad faith, to delay things or to harass or to do whatever, the court has a process for determining a sanction. And that's why I wrote into it that if the executive director determines that there may be bad faith, that the executive director would refer it to the commission. The commission would consider the complaint and the executive director's report or recommendation, and then the entire commission would issue an order to the complainant saying, we think you've done this in bad faith. You come and either respond in writing or to the commission why you believe it was done in good faith. So there's this process that's built into it. And so the final decision would be made by the commission after a potential hearing and face-to-face with the person. So hopefully that answers your question, but maybe not your concerns, right?
True.
Yeah.
So Ward, on that thought, I was just going to add, they can also do that. A respondent, the individual who a complaint is filed against, could also make a motion to the court or to bring it forth themselves instead of what was that? Did I say the court? Sorry. My previous life is coming into play. I apologize, but they could bring it to the commission's attention, and then they could request that something be summarily dismissed based upon that bad faith filing. So there's 2 ways, right, Murray? There's 2 ways that it could come before the commission, either on my recommendation or the executive director, or the respondent could be the one that does that. And there is a very similar process, as Murray outlined, in both state court and in federal court for when a plaintiff brings a complaint in bad faith. And there's an extensive case law on what that looks like.
Okay, so protocol. We have a question from the audience, and is it okay? Pardon?
It's up to you as the chair, Cindy. We do have time allotted for question and answers at the end too, so.
Go wait. Okay, Thank you. All right. So to kind of summarize, right now, comments are still being received, right?
The comment period is open until Monday, the 22nd. So
Monday, September 22nd.
yes.
In that, Murray, our colleague here, has provided us with some really good information and points for consideration, which I'm assuming, Logan, then does this then go forward to you?
So we'll take Murray's memo as a comment, as a submitted comment, and then we'll analyze it. You'll get analysis from me as general counsel regarding his comment.
All right. So any other comments or questions? I know you put a lot of work into this, both Logan and Murray, but it is an ongoing, I guess, process for us. And again, as I've mentioned earlier, some of this, particularly in Murray's analysis, stems from situations that we've been confronted with throughout at least the past year, particularly, and as the increase in our cases have come forward and the scenarios that we've dealt with. So I'm going to encourage everybody to continue to pay attention and let our staff do their work. We've got till the 22nd for more consideration. And so this is, it's not done or resolved by any means, but there's still room for discussion and input. Murray, did you have something else?
I think I've said enough on this issue.
Rebecca?
Yep. Just really quick comment on Murray's memorandum and the comments that he made. So this is not in the format. So if the commission were to adopt any of these to include them, we would ensure that it's in the same format that you guys have the other amendments, and we would integrate it into that just for your knowledge. And then the other comment that I would make is that if there were these are some fairly substantial changes that would be made to the proposal that we already have out there for the public. And I would recommend that if we were to move forward, if the commission were to move forward with any of these, that we would make sure to notify the individuals who, namely public officials and lobbyists who would be affected by this, to see if they have any additional comments to share. And we could work with our friends in the press to do that.
And depending on how you want to do this at the next meeting, I could propose each of those substantive issues as a motion to amend these proposed rules so that there could be a debate on each issue. It depends on how you want to deal with it. So that there's a parliamentary kind of a process. I would really not want to have it all considered at one time and one motion. I'd rather debate it, if possible, each one of the issues. However you as chair want to do it.
Oh, no, I'm not taking on that lead. I will defer to us as a commission, as a body. I have a sense that we have consensus that we want to digest this more. But also then, Logan, do you have any recommendations for us?
So what I'll do as I go through Murray's memo is I'll prepare each one in the format that we have it in to add it to the proposed rules should the commission decide to do that. So you can do exactly as Murray was speaking about.
All right, Ron and Ward, you're good?
Good with that?
Yeah. I'm
Okay. More work. I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute recess. We've been sitting for an hour and a half, and we still have quite a few things. But a little 10-minute break for us to refresh ourselves. And for those online, 10 minutes, and we'll be back.